Hey guys, how you doing? So in the last video, we got rid of the pesky reloads with the client, and now we need to have the API server up here, and we need to add that static routes for the API server. So we were talked about before using the users, so we need to actually add CRUD for the users. So let's go into our V1 here. We're going to create a new folder called users. And then we're going to create the index.go file, index.go. And then we're going to need to create a update.go, a store.go, and a delete.go, delete.go. Actually, we need to rename that destroy, not delete, destroy. Okay, and let's go ahead and go into this index here. We'll say package users with the function index. And that is using, let's close others. And we need to go and, I'm going to just copy over this one from health because like typing all that out is kind of not super interesting. Index. We are not writing here at all. So this route here, what this route's going to do is this route is going to grab all the users and return them all. So it's going to use the models to do that. So in the models before, we had written an index file right here that takes a find by and then returns all the users in the system. So we need to actually grab that model. So let's go ahead and import that. So import, we're going to do, users model, model, github.com, learning, project, API, models, users. Right? Yep, models, users. Okay. So now we need to grab the users from that. So users, error, from index, and pass in the DB. And the moment we actually don't have a need for a user find by. So we'll find by users model dot user like so, and we'll pass it in by reference. So find by, and then what we'll do is we'll take the handle the error. If error is not equal to nil, then we'll return http.error, pass in the writer, error.error for now, and then http dot. If we had an error from the users model, that probably means like a bad request. So because it's going to be based on the user on the user inputs, we'll do bad request, status bad request. We'll save that, and then we also now do we? I don't think we returned anything from the URL. I don't think we needed anything from the URL at this point. No, we're just using index. So one of the things you want to do is if you have like a multi-tenant system, you probably want to grab something off the URL and pass it in by the find by. But right now we don't need that. Okay, so now we need to encode this as a packet. So we say packet. Oh, we also need an error as well. Error. JSON.Marshall. I'm going to pass in these users here. And then we're going to say if, we're just going to copy the same error here. Like so. And then, index.go, just a second here. Users index.go. Just make sure I do this the right way here. Okay, and then we want to w.header, we want to set the header to send back a content type of application dash forward slash JSON, and w.write, we're going to write back that packet. So this Marshall actually returns a byte slice, see? Byte slice. And then we're going to write that back to the client. So let's go ahead and we're going to actually remove these from now. We'll add them later, because we'll add them as we go, because we don't really need them right at the moment. Um, where is that red coming from? Contains emphasized. That's okay for now. Okay, and then we need to go into our actual router here and attach those users to this. So let's see. One of the routes we need to have is we're going to do this users. We'll say routes.route name users index, and the method is going to be a get method, and the pattern is going to be just users, and then the handler function is going to be user routes.index, and then we need to actually grab that user routes up here. So user routes, I'm going to copy all this stuff because I really don't want to. Routes v1 users, and we're going to actually attach that to the name as well, so that way it's easy to v1 user routes. We'll save that there. Okay, so let's go ahead and test that. So we'll say docker compose up like so, and it's going to build the client here. And then we'll pull up Postman, and we'll do v1 users, like so. Let that build. A comma. What did I do here? Go run main. Syntax router go 44. Oh, I missed the comma there. Oops. There we go. Okay. We'll run it. Docker compose. Oh. There we go. Let's go add that to the Docker compose that we did with the client as well. So we're going to add volumes to this. Volumes. And we're going to say, we're going to map the API to app. Oh, actually we can't do that because we built in there. I'll fix that later. We'll go back over that here in a minute. Let's just run this. Because remember earlier, while it's building, in our dev environment, we actually had built our Go build here instead. So I'm actually going to change this dev to just run directly with Go, and then that way we can map over the directories and then hot reload. So let's go ahead and run that. And there we go. So we'll grab our Postman right here, and we should be able to hit the URL and get users back. So there we go. That's our new route we had. Now, you probably should actually not be passing passwords back. So I'm going to go ahead and go into this user index up here, this models user index up here. And we're actually going to set the columns just ID and email. So we're going to say columns ID calls email, like that. Then we can remove that. And that should return a session. It returns a session. And then when we rebuild, we won't get that password, because we really should not be passing back passwords. That's not a good idea. Oh my gosh, we need to fix this. This is taking way too long. I'm going to close all this stuff out. Okay, and you'll see no passwords. We're not getting that data back. which is exactly as it should be. We should not be passing passwords back. Okay, so there's that. Now let's go ahead and create our other 3 routes, which is going to be store. So we want to create a store model. So we'll say store.go. And we can just steal this right now. And then store create new user. And we're going to say store this user, pointer to user. And then we can go over to our XORM. Let's do this instead. User store.go. Okay. So our store, just pretty simple. It's going to return just an error. So what actually happens here is when you store this user here, it populates that object with the new ID. So we don't actually have to return anything. That's a pointer. So we'll say error db.insert. We'll pass in this object here. There we go. And then we can just return. And what's this complaining about? No variable. Oh, equals. There we go. There we go. Okay. Now I need to do a similar thing with the update. So update.go. Take this store here. And we're going to paste this in. Update. We do need to pass an ID in. So ID int 64. Because isn't that what that was? Int 64. Yep. And we'll do update. And then update. We're actually just going to change this to just object, so that way we can just copy and paste over if we need to later on. Okay, and then the ID. So we're going to update with the ID like so with that value. You pass back the error. And then the last thing we need to do is the destroy, which is once again very similar to this update here. So let's say destroy.go. We'll paste that in. Destroy. This is actually delete. And then we actually don't pass in a user object here. We just use a temporary object. So we're going to get rid of this here. Delete object. Reference the object to ID of ID, like so. ID, and then we pass back that error. So pretty simple. Our models are all done. Now rather we actually need to implement these. So we're going to do a show.go. So one of the things with that index up here, that we had this find by, we also have the ability to pass in an ID or an email. So in our show, we're going to do the same thing as the index, except for here we're going to take URL parameters. So show.go, and we need to do this here. Just a second. Okay, why am I having a hard time? Just a second here. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, so show, but instead we're going to be using find by ID equal to the ID off the URL. So we'll say vars mux.vars. We'll grab the request object itself. We'll grab a raw ID from that object, or from that slice here, or this map of string map. And then we'll say ID is going. We're going to ignore the error for now. String conversion A to I, so character to integer of raw ID, and then we're going to say int 64 ID. and then we need to show grab just one resource. And then here, we actually need to grab the first one. So what we want to do is we want to say, if it doesn't exist, we'll say if length of users is equal to 0, then we're just going to return http dot error w resource not found, http dot not found, status not found. There we go, and then we'll return. Okay, so that's the show, and then we need to do let's do the update first. So update go, and then we need to grab this index here like so. We'll just steal it, and then we'll do update, and then actually we should have just grabbed it from here. Actually, this would have been better. We'll grab the ID off of here, and then what we'll do is we'll say show how we have this index not found. We can't update if it's not found, and then if it is found, we need to do the update. So error if error users model dot update error not equal to nil, and we'll do return HTTP, and we'll just steal this one up here because really it's the same thing. And then we need to grab it off the body, so we'll say var new user to update is a users model dot user, and then we will use the decoder. So decoder JSON.new decoder. We're going to grab the body off the request object, and then we're going to say error decoder. Well, actually, do we already? This actually shouldn't be an equals. It should be an equals because we already created the error up here. And in fact, this can actually be equals as well, and so can this. Okay, decoder dot decode for the. We're going to reference this user to update. There we go, and then we're going to pass in that user to update into our update here, and you pass in the ID. So DB. And then the ID we want to update right here, ID, with that value. What's it complaining about? Type ID int, int64, int64. There we go. And then once that happens, you pass back that user. Undefined pack. Oh, there we go. Okay, so with the update function, updates our resource. There we go. And then let's see. We still have destroy and store. Oh man, this video is gonna be long. Store.go. So store is kind of similar to update, but not quite. So we're gonna go ahead and steal some of this here. Stores a resource. So in this case, we actually don't need the ID because there is no ID, but we do need to use the decoder to grab it off the request object. And then we need to store that object. We don't have an ID, so we don't use the ID. And then we're going to name this to store. There we go. A little bit simpler. There we go. Okay, so here we're grabbing the store off the body, and then we're using that to actually create the resource, and then we're decoding it into a packet, which is basically just a byte slice, and then returning it. Now we need to destroy. So destroy.go. And this is going to be similar to the update. And probably more similar than the store, but still different. We're actually going to call this one delete, not just... no, we'll call it destroy. That's fine. Destroys a resource. Okay, so we need to grab the ID off of the domain, see if it actually exists. If it doesn't exist, return an error. Otherwise, we don't need to decode anything off the body here. We don't need to pass any object in, but we do need to call destroy, like so. Okay, and then there is not going to be anything to return. I guess maybe an ID. Well, you know what? We can actually just pass back resource destroyed. So we'll say a byte slice of resource string conversion I to A of ID destroyed. There we go. Okay. So now I need to add these routes to the router. And let's go ahead and go to the router here. And we have the index. So we're going to just copy and paste. We have 4 more routes. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So up here is going to be a store. We'll just call this the store. And this is going to be a post to the same URL, but store. Okay. And then the next one is going to be a put for the update. And then this is going to be an update. But in this case, we actually have an ID tied to it. So ID. And then we can actually use this for the next 3. So this is actually, we'll use the one above. Get for a show, and then destroy, and that's a delete method. Okay, let's go ahead and test this here. cd API go run main. Okay, the server runs, and let's go ahead and actually run a final test. So we'll say docker build like so. Okay, so let this finish building. And while it's building, I guess we can go over here and get ready for our tests. Okay, so we got our emails here. Let's go ahead and change this email to nick@mail2. So we'll just go ahead and steal this here. We'll do a ID of 1 because we're updating ID 1. We'll do a put body raw JSON, and we don't need the ID in there. And we'll make this nick2, and we'll ignore the password. And we'll send it. 1, there are 1. If it's 0 primary keys, there are 1. ID is error condition 1. So put, what did I mess up here? Update. And update right here. That should be right. And there must be something wrong here. Did we ever add spew? I don't know if we ever actually did. We did not. Well, that's not good. Let's go ahead and add spew. Spew is a great tool for debugging API stuff. So spew, let me find it here. Okay. Let's go get -u github.com/Dave CGH go spew. We're going to include this, close this down, C API, CD API, make install, and then we're going to include it up here, spew, and spew.dump to see exactly what's being passed in. This should, I bet we're just missing a go run main go, and we'll put that there. We'll see error parsing, signature is invalid. Did I not include the token? Yes, I did. So why is, let's go ahead and get a new token. Test2 test. Did it update the password? I'm wondering if that's what happened. Just a second. I'm gonna pause this till I figure it out. I forgot that the secret's not the same between the two, because remember when I had built that project up in my compose, I passed in the secret. Well, in my local environment, it's not going to be the same. So we're going to just do Docker compose, like so. Okay, it's done building. So we're going to go ahead and get back. So it is passing in this value here, and then it's passing an ID in. So the error is definitely after that update. It's definitely after this. It must be this error right here. So why is expected 0 primary keys, or is 1? So why is it expecting 0 primary keys? So there is XORM. Oh, okay. I think just a second. I think I know what's going on. I forgot to set the primary key. Oops. Let's go ahead and do that now. That's why. So this should actually be primary key and then auto increment, and that should fix it actually. So let's go ahead and run that. Oh, I messed that up. I'm going to pause while it builds again. And it's done building and embedding, and there we go. Yep. So one of the things with XORM is it has to know what the primary key is. It uses these to determine, what it's using. And then in the update function earlier, I had said in that update functions, update.go under users, or oops, update.go under models users here, I was using the primary key ID. But in the definition of the users, there wasn't a primary key. So you have to have that primary key. So see that now we have mail users 2. So we'll select star from there. And did I not? Users. Oh, get. There we go. You'll see that it actually did update that to 2. So let's go ahead and do a store. So we'll do a post. And we'll create a new one. We'll say, it doesn't matter for this test. We'll just say, blah, password, blah. And also, I actually noticed something else going on here. See that uppercase E? We need to go back into our definition over here, and because we're converting to JSON, we need to add a definition here. So ID, and then JSON, email, and then JSON. Oops. Actually, we don't want to include this in the JSON. We're going to do that like so. And then actually, you know what? Then we can go back to our index function up here and remove this stuff altogether because it will just not include it in the JSON. So 1 equals 1. So we can get our session. And then we can go and rebuild here like so. And so this doesn't make sense. What's going on is this is the parser. So when you marshal into JSON from your struct, you'll actually use this to find what key value pairs to use to marshal. And this dash here says, hey, ignore me. I don't want you to be part of this packet. And then we'll go back over here. That's where we're getting this uppercase stuff. I thought that was a little odd earlier, but I didn't catch it right away. And there we go. So we're going to go ahead and store this value right here. We'll get an ID of 2. Then we can go back to our users get, and we'll see that we'll get more than one row. And then we'll go ahead and delete that other row. So we'll delete view1 users, and that is ID 2. So we'll delete that guy. Unexpected. Delete 200. Unexpected R. Let's be something in that return. So destroy string. We'll just remove this right now. Must be something in that destroy. Destroy routes. Slice byte slice. ID1 error. Unexpected R. Destroy, delete. Huh. Well, it seemed to have actually worked. Get. Yeah, it did. Okay. Well, that byte slice change down there should fix it. Yeah. Okay. Because content type application JSON. So I actually need to. Oh, that's right. Why is this not working? Delete. If there's an error, there shouldn't be any errors on there. ID1. Destroy. No, that looks right. Well, we got a 200. Must be the interpreter here. I wasn't able to interpret or something. Anyway, good to go. So that's all the CRUD. So we have index, and we use that for the store function, so we can grab just one of them. In fact, let's go ahead and look at that real quick. See, now we don't get it in an array; it's just an object. All right, guys. I know that was a long video, but I hope that makes sense. And in the next video, we're actually going to use the client side to parse all this data and utilize it. All right, guys. Thanks, and I'll see you next video.